All right, today we're diving into something big, a new operating system for how Aotearoa plans its industrial and rural heartlands. This is a massive shift, and if you're a decision maker helping shape our country's future, you're going to want to pay close attention.
So let's start with the diagnosis. What problem are we even trying to fix? Well, for decades, planning in Aotearoa has been a bit of a tangled mess. This image sums it up perfectly as the postcode lottery. What you could build literally depended on which side of an arbitrary line you were on. It created this huge cloud of uncertainty and, frankly, regulatory debt.
And just look at the sheer scale of the problem. We're talking over 1,175 different sets of local rules. Just think about that for a second. All that wasted energy, with our best planners stuck arguing over tiny details instead of focusing on the big picture, on building great cities. That's the friction this new system is designed to get rid of. So the solution isn't about trying to untangle that old, knotted mess of rules. Nope, it's about throwing it out and starting fresh. The idea is to install a single, universal operating system, a standardized code base for planning that works across the entire nation. And at the core of this new OS are the National Standardized Zones. Instead of that mess of over 1,000 local variations, you get a handful of clear, universal zones. The goal is really simple. Create one common language for development, and completely shift the culture from subjective, case-by-case debates to one based on clear, predictable rules. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The core principle driving this whole thing is the idea of protecting our nation's economic engines. This isn't just a bureaucratic tidy-up, it's a strategic move to secure the very foundations of our national productivity. This quote just nails the shift in mindset, doesn't it? Our productive land, both in the country and in our industrial parks, is no longer seen as just a waiting room for the next subdivision. It's properly understood as the nation's factory floor, an active, absolutely essential part of our economy that needs to be protected so it can do its job. So what this framework does is it legally defines both our urban industries and our rural agriculture as these vital economic engines. And like any engine, they can't run smoothly without certainty. The whole point here is to give them a legal shield, protecting them from land use conflicts so they can operate, grow, and attract the kind of long-term investment our country really needs. Okay, first, let's step inside the city's engine room, our industrial zones. The new system is pretty clever. It creates a strategic gradient of 3 distinct zones, each one carefully calibrated to manage how it interacts with the rest of the city and to squeeze out as much productivity as possible. This table lays out the logic beautifully. You've got the quasi-industrial zone, which acts as a kind of buffer. Then there's the standard industrial zone, which, and this is interesting, actually allows some housing to create a workforce habitat. And then you get to the core, the exclusively industrial zone. Think of it as a fortress for heavy industry, totally protected from any conflicting uses. Now, why all this strict separation? Well, it's all about preventing a really critical planning conflict called reverse sensitivity. You know the story. A new apartment building goes up next to a port or a factory that's been there for 50 years, and suddenly the new residents start complaining about the noise, the smell, or the 24/7 operations. That's reverse sensitivity. And this is the crucial part. The system prevents that conflict by design. It's not left to chance. In that engine room, that exclusively industrial zone, all those sensitive uses are just prohibited. It's not up for debate. This gives heavy industry the legal right to operate, which is absolutely fundamental for economic confidence. Okay, let's head out of the city now and see how this system builds a protective wall around what the source material calls the engine of the soil. It's the exact same principle. Protecting economic engines, just tailored for our primary industries. So Aotearoa adapts the international model with 3 very distinct rural zones, each with a crystal clear job to do. You've got the production zone, which protects the backbone of our agricultural economy. The mixed zone is there to support a more diverse rural economy. And the extractive zone corrals things like mining and quarrying into specific, managed areas to avoid conflict. This diagram really brings it all together, doesn't it? Down at the bottom, you can see those 3 specialized rural zones we just talked about, production, mixed, and extractive, all working together to form that economic engine. This clear separation is designed to stop land use conflicts before they start and to safeguard our whole agricultural economy from unplanned urban sprawl. Getting the difference between these 2 zones is absolutely vital. Think of the rural production zone as a fortress, built to protect our nation's food basket.
To keep that soil purely for large-scale farming, things like lifestyle blocks and mining are totally prohibited. The rural mixed zone, on the other hand, allows for more diversity, but it still has a really key strategic goal: to discourage the kind of fragmentation that sprawling lifestyle blocks can cause.
So after all that, what's the ultimate takeaway for our leaders, planners, and investors? Well, it all boils down to one powerful word: certainty.
The whole goal here is to fundamentally change the culture of planning. It's about moving away from subjective, unpredictable, case-by-case arguments and creating a culture of adherence. It's simple. If your project meets the clear, objective, almost mathematical standards for that zone, you get the green light. Period.
I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. The state does the heavy lifting. It provides the infrastructure, which is the skeleton. And these standardized zones, they provide the predictable code for how to grow. That's the DNA. You put them together and you've got the conditions you need for resilient, predictable development.
Ultimately, this new operating system is a tool. It's designed to provide the legal certainty that's needed for long-term investment and smart strategic growth. The framework is there. It lays the foundation. So the real question is, how will Aotearoa's decision-makers use this powerful new tool to actually engineer a more prosperous and resilient future for all of us?